here's the deal. People claim that I am only showing the good stuff, positive stuff about Guyana. However, what I'm doing is showing you reality. Granted, so far it's been selective. I've been showing you certain streets that I've selected to walk down. This one, for example, is Winter Place, and it extends between Hadfield Street and Kroll Street. And right now we're at the intersection with Brick Dam. It's a Saturday morning, so there's not a whole lot of traffic. But people want to know, why don't I show them the bad stuff? Why don't I talk about crime in Guyana? Well, because this is not the channel for that. This is not a news channel. And crime is something that you're going to have to deal with everywhere in the world.
Oh, this is my day. I'm ready to take it on, come what may.
Hey Raffalitos! So today I'm taking you along with me to solve some problems in Georgetown. So one of the problems you have to deal with when you move back to Guyana is how to deal with water and electricity. So the government has recently applied 14% value-added tax to water and electricity in the city, in fact in the entire country. And to make matters worse, these are utilities that are owned by the national company, the Guyana Water Authority, Authority for Water, and the Guyana Light and Power Authority for electricity. And both of these companies now require you to possess proof of ownership of your property before you can receive water or electricity. So having been out of Guyana, for more than 20 years, I couldn't produce these documents. So I had to come up with an alternative. Now here's the deal. People claim that I am only showing the good stuff, positive stuff about Guyana. However, what I'm doing is showing you reality. Granted, so far it's been selective. I've been showing you certain streets that I've selected to walk down. This one, for example, is Winter Place, and it extends between Hadfield Street and Kroll Street. And right now we're at the intersection with Brick Dam. It's a Saturday morning, so there's not a whole lot of traffic. But people want to know, why don't I show them the bad stuff? Why don't I talk about crime in Guyana? Well, because this is not the channel for that. This is not a news channel. And crime is something that you're going to have to deal with everywhere in the world. Granted, crime has a certain feature in Guyana. It used to be known as the choke and rob country at one point. So even the name Rob Street, which is one of those streets I went down when I was a kid, was afraid to walk down Rob Street because of this choke and rob phenomenon, because I thought that is what happened on Rob Street. Anyway, I digress. How do I deal with water? I decided to implement my own system of securing water. That is, I just repaired the gutters on my roof and installed rain barrels, and I collect rainwater. That means that I don't have to pay the 14% tax on water in Guyana, and I don't need water from the national water company. This is Kroll Street. So walking on Kroll Street, we're heading over to Regent Street. So to solve the water problem, I had to install a system of water filters, and these are sedimentary filters, filters to remove sediments, and then filters to remove chemicals, odors. So the chemical filter is a basic charcoal filter, and the filter housing and the charcoal filter are import. They're not made in Guyana, so they have to be imported. And currently there are some Chinese companies, well, companies that are businesses that are run by Chinese nationals that import the filters that I buy. So one of the problems that they have to deal with is the quality. So Chinese products are famous for their not being reliable, or infamous for not being reliable, and this is still true. It is also true that China also produces high quality products that are reliable, but they seem to have a tiered market, and those high quality products are sold in Europe and Western countries, and they sell their cheaper or lower quality products in places like Guyana. So this is one of the problems you have to deal with. How are you going to get around the quality problem? So right now I'm returning a filter that I purchased for my water system because it's leaking. It's a leaky filter, and so when I took it out of the box, it seemed perfectly fine. When I installed it, it was just leaking. So I inspected it more closely and found that it had a defect. And so now I'm taking it back to the store where I purchased it, and I'm going to ask them to exchange it. Let me see if I can show you what the filter looks like. So yeah, I'm going to ask them to exchange my filter because it seems to be defective, and I believe that's why it's not working. Okay, so we're now on Regent Street. This is Regent Street on a Saturday morning. We've seen this part of Regent Street previously, but this is what the filter looks like. Alright, so that's the filter housing and the filter. So this is the filter housing, and inside goes the filter, and you can see that the bottom of it is not completely fully circular, and that's the defect in it that is causing the problem. So I'm taking it back to the store to have them exchange it. But that's what's happening on Saturday morning in Georgetown. You're following me now to the store where I can have it replaced or exchanged, and therefore solve one of the problems that you have to deal with, that is water. The good thing is that the water by this method is free. So my water is actually free and higher quality than the water coming out of the taps in Georgetown. And let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are. Morning. I need to exchange this.
You buy one last time?
This is the one I bought.
What one?
It's okay, so I got my filter replaced, and now I'm gonna install it and have it replace one that was broken, and completely solve that problem. So the point is that water is free if you are able to harvest it from the rain, and in fact it's a better quality. It's pure after you've purified it. I usually add chlorine and then I pass it through a sequence of 5 filters, 3 charcoal filters, 3 or 4 charcoal filters and 1 sedimentary filter. So typically I let the water sit in a holding tank for about a day or 2 before I begin to harvest it to my storage tank, which is on the roof, and so I use gravity to power, to supply the pressure in the system. So that is how I deal with the water problem in Georgetown. The other problem that I have to solve is electricity. And like I said before, if you don't have documents to show ownership of your property, the power company will not install your electricity, will not electrify your house. And so to solve that problem, I simply installed solar panels on my roof, and with a 1500 watt inverter and a set of deep cycle batteries, about 900 amp hours of storage, I am able to have as much electricity as I need for the demand that I personally create, that I use. So the way it works is that I store electricity during the daytime, and I also operate most of my heavy equipment in the daytime while the sun is out, and hopefully by the end of the day I would have completed some of the heavy tasks like washing. So I run my laundry machine during the daytime. Yes, typical Guyanese problem. You have cars that are... Morning. Yeah, installing these very loud music systems. It is the fad in Guyana, something that I think has used to be a fad in New York City 20 years ago, but it's still in favor here in Guyana. Alright, so I run most of my heavy equipment during the daytime. If I have to do pumping, I pump water, so I use a water pump to pump my water onto the roof. I do that during the daytime. I run my computers and do my editing, video editing in the daytime, and I use my flat screen TV and things that use a lot of electricity in the daytime. I also use the fridge and freezer mostly in the daytime. So these are things that you do when you're running on solar power. There are some lifestyle changes you kind of have to adapt to a more conservation based use of electricity. So while the sun is up, I do most of my heavy use. I operate most of my electrical appliances that require a lot of power, like the refrigerator and the freezer and the washing machine and the television and the computer and so on, so that in the night time I only need to use electricity for lights. I actually turn off freezer, the freezing compartment of my refrigerator after 6 p.m. and I turn it on again in the morning after 6 a.m. So that means that if I set my temperature in my freezer to say minus 23 degrees Celsius and the fridge to minus 1, I can usually freeze things so deeply and so hard during the daytime that they remain frozen for the rest of the night and well into the next day. So these are some of the adaptations that you have to make when you use solar power. And by doing this, I'm able to reduce my utility bills to zero, so I don't pay for electricity or water. There's no monthly electricity or water bill. And because the house that I live in has been in my family for generations, I don't pay for rental, I don't have a mortgage or anything like that. And so this is how you manage, or at least how I manage to live. In Guyana, which still remains a low cost and a low rent, low remuneration society. So for that reason, it's a good place to retire. It's also a good place to do like your digital nomad entrepreneurship. If you want to be away from your home and to live cheaply, then Guyana is one of those places you can do so. Alright, so there you have it. So right now we're in Guyana Street and we're heading back towards Norton Street. This is also one of the residential neighborhoods in Georgetown, and also one of the older, more mature streets. This is Bent Street. Bent Street at the intersection with Guyana Street. That's Bent Street. And so that's how we managed to live in a low-rent society. So for those people who wanted to know, well, how is it that Guyanese can afford housing and rent and cars, there are lots of ways that people do that, but I can only tell you about myself. This is how I do it, by minimizing the cost of utilities and the cost of living. So with zero cost for utilities and housing, I can afford to focus on some of the other things that I like to have. And that you can enjoy living in Guyana. Alright, so I'm going to give you an idea next about what I do for shopping. I mentioned in the previous video that I do most of my shopping on Amazon or Macy's or Nautica.com or brooksbrothers.com and so on. And I actually have a logistics company that ships my purchases to Guyana, and usually it's quite reasonable. And the reason why I do that is that even though we have stores and so on that sell these items on Regent Street or around the city, the quality is not always good. It's just like the Chinese products are unreliable. Sometimes the people who select, the people who set up, who do the importation of these products don't always choose quality products. And so if you're accustomed to a certain kind of quality, certain product, you do need to arrange to have your purchases done abroad and shipped to Guyana. Anyway, if you want to hear more about this stuff, you want to see more videos like this, click like and subscribe and leave a comment below. Later!